Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Rangers Radio. I have Mike Ibrox trying myself up here back in the show. It's Port Bear. All right, Port?
Hi, mate. What can I say about the tournament and the group stage? Harsh lessons learned, mate, hopefully.
Aye, it was, listen, I think it went away a lot as expected. There was some good, some bad. We lost by goals. They could have scored more goals. We huffed and puffed. At times we done okay. Big Kovacs gave us everything to go. Didn't get the ball at them times. Kent looked good. We beat a man, and one time we put a cross in for Sakala, being Sakala, done some good things, but we've no legs in midfield and inexperienced centre backs who done well over the piece. And also, we're two full-backs. If you take the pace of their two full-backs compared to ours, mate, night and day, mate.
Aye, I touched on it in the first half, mate. At times, Vinyal and Sanchez inverted into midfield to help in midfield. And then when Tav or Borna came forward, both of them went right down that outside and often caught Tav inside. And the 1-2s and the combination player on the edge of the box, mate, opened Rangers up at will. Still think we lacked.
I thought young Sands gave us everything he got, accompanied by young William King, and they didn't get a lot of luck for the first two goals. There was errors in there, but look, I'll not hold it against them. The boys learning their trade, and hopefully they'll move on for that, mate.
Oh, definitely. I'm not going to. No way am I going to slate Leon King. And I know that Lanzo was saying, he should have, went and closed them down, instead of standing back. Aye, that probably was faults of which you'll learn for next year. That's what I'm getting at. It's not about slating young Leon King or James Sands. Boys still learning their trade. Another boy playing a position that's not naturally his. But you have to go and face up next year. That's just a wee fact. You can't stand off quality, mate, or they just bend it in the corner like they did, or the combination player and you start knocking 1-2s about you. Unless you go and, close these guys down, that's what happens to you at that level, mate. And I think another thing that we lacked again, mate, and we spoke about it pre-show, was the aggression, wasn't it? The pride. There wasn't enough aggression for me from the guys.
I think the trouble is, you make a tackle, you're getting booked, didn't you?
That's fair, Oxford. I said, but I think there is times where, I don't mean put the boot in, there is times where you can let them know.
Get booked in the tunnel when he played.
Aye, of course. But sometimes you need to take your hat off, Oxford, to a team that are superior.
Players, mate.
Aye,
good
aye. When you're watching their centre back, you're in Timber, number 2. You're watching him going up, and before you know it, he's on the edge of our box, mate, and he's interlinking with Tadic and the boy Kudus. It will, and the big boy Alvarez just sits back in alongside Bassey. It's the interchanging play and the combinations from front to back for Ajax, mate, is phenomenal. And the scary thing, mate, that's the sort of teams where we were fighting third and fourth in the Champions League to try and get into Europa at least. So that's the level you have to be for that staying out after Christmas.
They were a pot 2 team, mate. Let's be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
They played some stuff. They've spent a few quid. All right, they've lost players. I get that. They spent 100 million. Here's a bold statement for me, yeah?
Yeah.
The Leon King at 18 years of age is ahead in his development than where Calvin Bassey was at 18 years of age.
I agree because Bassey didn't play Champions League football at 18 years of age, did he? So it's like you've touched on this before with some of your young guys at your club, and I touched on it in pre-show, mate. Some of them are ahead of the curve, and Leon King will have learnt more in this short period of time since Connor Goldson that's been out, and probably even more so tonight, having played along Sands where that's his natural position. So he's the main man back there, isn't he? Ahead of Sands, because he's the natural centre back. Although Sands, some people would argue, is the one with experience. But Leon King for me, apart from, as I said, mate, that wee criticism of not going and taking a step forward, stepping up and trying to block. staying back. That's my only criticism, right? I mean, his effort and desire.
I think same with James Sands. I don't know where we go. I think he could have got closer, but where the piece had done all right. I like to see the two of them stepping out with the ball, learning their trade. Right, I suppose we better get these phone lines open, mate, yeah?
Aye, 100%, mate. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, let's hear from these.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
I thought Stephen Davis done all right at times. Everybody done all right at times, but there were other times when we get attracted to the ball port and we don't go with the runners. And the runners with pace and quality kill you.
Kevin Thompson pointed on it quite a few times throughout the game. Ball watching was a word that he used. I think I heard him using it at least 10 times a night last year. Ball watching at Champions League level, ouch. You get killed ball watching at Champions League level, mate, and that proved that tonight because Ajax were, as I said, they were a joy to watch. I mean, I've got to take my hat after them. Every year, they go and find the best young talent and develop young talent over a space of between 1 and 5 years. The team gets ripped apart. Other players go to other big clubs throughout Europe and they go again and start rebuilding, another team. And this is the start of another rebuild, having sold some of them, biggest players during the summer there for top money, mate. So like I'm saying, Ajax, in my opinion, is the sort of level we should be sort of aiming at, chasing at, in terms of quality, and also in terms of Champions League. If you want to be there and you're trying to get to stay in Europe after Christmas, and Europa League's your best bet, then you've got to be beating teams of Ajax's quality, mate.
For sure. I think first of all, what we've got to do is we've got to get to we're competing, mate. We just have to go up another step. Let's be honest, mate. We qualified, and when we seen the draw, we went, we're going to get top.
Hello there.
You turn the show off, mate. Be honest, mate. You turn the show off.
How you doing?
All right, you turn the show off in the background, mate.
Sorry, speakers, I've just done it. How you doing, Ox?
How you doing, mate?
Well, I could have been better, but it wasn't as if I wasn't expecting it.
No, if you were a professional gambler, mate, some bet Ajax half-time, full-time, but we always think...
I know a lot of guys that put money on it. I know a lot of guys that actually put serious wedge on this.
Well, I couldn't have done that myself because my heart would have been betting against my head, My head would have been getting against my heart. Look, we done all right at times. The best team won. We competed. I think the result was pretty fair of the piece, mate, if I'm being honest.
Well, mate, it's your show, so I don't want to step on your toe and get hung up on.
Mate. You get off your chest what you want to say, mate.
I don't think we were anywhere. I thought we were absolutely shocking. For a fact of a match that was a dead rubber, and you looked, the first thing I done was I got an alert to who was actually starting, and then I got an alert to who was on the bench, and I thought, why are we not just throwing caution in the wind? Another 7 goals, what are we trying to protect? Was it this thing about no being the worst Champions League away goals record nonsense? I mean, at this point, it didn't matter. They could have scored maybe 6 or 7 a night. They could have. They had the quality to do it. But I just found if I pointed out, this is too long a conversation to go on, but this is something for maybe people that are listening and yourselves to think about. If I pointed out something bad that every player done tonight, it would be nice for somebody to find a positive that they done. The 2 players for me that were possibly outstanding in a very poor performance was Leon King, who I think could probably move into central midfield to replace Davis. I think he's got the passing ability. He's only 18 years old. Let's not forget that. I think he's got the passing ability. He's his head's always up and he's always looking for something, and he's no fear. And I thought James Sands done himself quite proud tonight.
Couldn't agree more, mate. But Port Bear, in you come.
That's fair shout, John. Fair shout, definitely. If you just start the shots with me and Oxley were actually talking about, they were two. Although both of them had minor, flaws, and what we were talking about was closing people, didn't just take that step or two forward to stop allowing these players to bend the ball around you. Usually a shield and bend the ball around you. Effectively, Alan McGregor gets beaten in both goals. But apart from that, the guys in their age and development and where they're in football in terms right now, they're playing at the highest level. They're playing at the table of the kings, if you want to call it. The
exactly
creme de la creme, and they held themselves well for two young, inexperienced centre backs. And take into consideration as well, James Sands not a centre back, so Leon King is your main man back there.
18 years old.
18 years old, mate. Listen, you're fighting the financial side of this tournament for a start, right? We can't compete with the finances some of these teams have got, the quality of the players. And this year, my first year back in the Champions League for a long, long time, John. It's a hard, it's probably the toughest lesson we could have learned. Hard group, and next year, you hope you learn your lessons, and now we know what it takes to compete with these teams. We know what sort of player we need to go and get to compete with these teams, to be, at least competitive in these games, mate.
Again, I think that's going to be money we don't have to spend.
No, I don't know.
We look at what happened in the summer, and we didn't recruit centre halves. Me and Ox have spoken about this a couple of matches ago. You let centre halves go, and they didn't recruit, and they kept Hollander, and they got rid of Balogun, and Leon King is their most senior actual centre half that's fit to play. For a club like Rangers, don't get me wrong, I'm overjoyed that kid's getting his chance, because not enough players at Rangers get their chance. But for an 18-year-old to be the senior centre half at Rangers is mad.
They two boys were the shining lights tonight.
I think so.
Well,
I think Sakala done himself quite proud as well. He went for it every time he had the ball.
You seen fashion in the last minute, didn't you? A bit of Bob bounced off him, a bit of brilliance, and then the shot. That's fashion. And then the next time he'll do a similar thing, he'll put it in the top corner.
Again, you've got him, and who's on the periphery of the team. It can't seem to nail down a place no matter what he does. A guy could score a hat trick. He could score a perfect hat trick. He could do a left, a right, and a header, and he would be dropped out for a cup game against Alloa. I can't make any sense of what's happening with Sakala. Glenn Kamara seems to.
Do you think he's in the run, John?
It's one of the things, Ox. It's like you've seen him get a run in a couple of games, and he seems rash. He's got all the speed in the world, and he can beat a man. But then there's that last ball, and he lashes at it. But then again, Tavernier's the exact same. Tavernier's an undroppable player even when he's injured. And Tavernier can beat a man. He can run into midfield. He can go up the wing. He can beat his man. And his delivery's just is. This is just me, but I think Tavernier's delivery's terrible. I know he's got numbers, but that's only because of the amount of crosses we get in. If you put in like 40 crosses, like 2 or 3 of them are going to hit somebody.
I'll pass you to a crossing expert. He done it a lot at school. Port Bear.
Aye, very good.
That's it. You're on the spot now, son.
John, I think I know. I get what you're saying about Tav, right? But his goal return and his assist last year, he's a top goal scorer on Europa League, mate. I understand what you're saying, but for the money we paid for this guy, and the length of time he's been at the club, he owes us nothing. He owes us nothing, mate. And I think since the start of the season, he's been playing with an injury. I don't think
I still don't think he's fit, mate.
Yep.
I don't think he's fit either.
When he took that ankle knock, I thought, right, is this what it's been? I thought, when he took that ankle knock about the 70th minute, I thought, right, is he getting back up for that? I was worried at that point. I thought it was maybe the injury really caught with him. But he's definitely not as mobile, and he's not shifting the way we know Tav can shift. Because that boy Winyal went by him at will tonight. I mean, 2 or 3 times they knew to play the 1-2. There was no say a Tav, and that boy was in every time. Tav doesn't get you beat with pace outside or inside.
That's what I was going to say, Paul, is you notice when Tavernier starts to run, he opens up his legs and he's got some drive of pace on him, and it's big long strides.
Yep.
And his close control's fantastic. That's been missing for the start of the season, period. All the way through the Europe games, all the way through the club games. You've been missing that, and other players are obviously looking for it. But besides him, something's happening behind the scenes, and this is where Gio starts to come into it. Glenn Kamara doesn't go, forget the 50 grand thing. Glenn Kamara does not go for an absolute showstopper of a player to, you can't even get a place on the bench if he's no carrying a massive injury. The manager does not fancy him at all. It's an attitude thing, or maybe it's a Dutch thing about contracts. I don't know what it is. We're not getting enough information out the back end.
You're not going to hear that. You'll hear loads of rumours, but you'll not hear. Exactly.
I mean, I'm on the Rangers rumours, and there's a couple of guys on there that are actually bona fide. When their information comes out, they're pretty solid.
You want some rumours, man?
But there you go. They're talking about there's about 5 players coming in.
Well, we'll see. Watch the space. Anyway, I'll cut across you, John. Just wait there, mate. We've been joined by Magpie. No, it's all right, mate. We've been joined by Magpie. Evening, Magpie.
How you doing, lads? Where do we go for the rattling off? I did say last night, there's a lot of people saying, we can escape a win. Well, there's no way. We knew it would happen. Obviously, the injuries, mate, they're a big problem. But let's not gloss over this. It's the worst record in Europe. We went from being in the Europa League final to the worst record. Frankfurt qualified. Porto, who we've beaten in the Europa League, qualified. Bruges finished second in the group. You can make an effort. You can put a tackle in. An actual tackle. Mate, just going back to the league form, we've scored once for a corner this season. There's nothing there. I told you yesterday I watched the training, the Rangers, and it's these wee short passes. I looked at Ajax and we're shooting, practicing shooting. It's fit for the start. It showed you on YouTube. The truth of the matter is, mate, I don't know where this board, what their thinking has been. They brought Gio in, a Dutch manager. You would expect when somebody comes in from that part of the world, they'd be bringing in players or identifying young players from that part of the world. They bring in an Ajax youth coach. They think maybe there'd be some players he'd identify for the Ajax youth culture, bring them in. But they don't. I mean, they brought in, their man just brought in guys for places he's worked in. Japan, he knew the Greek boy because he's Greek himself. And basically, you could say, like Conte's brought in guys for Juventus. I just don't know what, the plan was for Gio. The truth of the matter is, mate, and here's the big thing. We're playing in the Champions League, and we spoke about this money, and I know people's going to say, we don't have this money, we don't have that. See if we don't have money to spend, right, just now, in the future for Rangers, really, really bad, mate, because when are we ever going to have money to spend if that's the case? Because we're going to have to spend. This is a team that's finished now. We all agree this team's finished. It's done. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we let Morelos and Kent run down their contracts, you should have got rid of them.
I think you've got to be fair, Magpie. It's what football's like. Players have got all the power now. If they didn't want to sign, they want to move. You're snookered, mate.
I would think that we spent 50 grand in 5 years in midfield and we're in the Champions League. 50 grand. Think about that, mate. There's no excuse. I don't care. Anybody, there'll be people in here who know people on the board, and I know there've been people who are defenders of the board. You just can't, mate. Everybody's at fault for the players, the manager.
We're going to have a show about the board. This show's about the game, mate, not about the board. Because
okay, right. But listen, right. I'll just say the board's part of the problem, but mate, Gio came in here, but Gio now has to leave.
John Bennett was man of the match on Saturday, by the way, just letting you know.
I was just going to say, well, see, Gio, right? Gio, he was the one that said, "I'm happy with the squad." We had, what's his name? The guy that brings the players in, saying that this is the best Rangers squad he's seen.
Ross Wilson.
Come on.
Ross Wilson.
Aye. I mean, that's absolute rubbish, mate. That's not a squad there. If you've got your best 10 players out or 11 players out, there's no other players you can bring in. I mean, my heart goes out to the other boys.
You've answered your own question. The answer to the board. So if the board are saying this is a party line, they've got to toe it.
But that's what I'm saying. But why did you not identify players for his own? Why would you bring company? But I was talking. I don't know about who it was. I was talking to Board Mayor, or, like Southside, who said we were crap in the Champions League. Now I was blessed, and we did spend money, and to see Advocat, a Dutchman, and to see the players he managed to bring in, it did cost money. But by God, it's night and day for the football we see with this Dutchman, and that's the difference, mate. There's no way this team. We drew with Livingston, and we deserved to draw with Livingston. It wasn't a fluke. Do you know what I mean, mate? And that's the reality. £50,000 in a midfielder in 5 years. And somebody, do you know what it was? Blue Star that actually hit the nail on the head when he said, if you look at our midfield, even if we're fit, there's not a midfield there to compete in the Champions League. So we've been ill prepared for the start of the season.
How much money did you want the board to spend, mate?
Well, see, if we weren't going to Champions League, you're charging the fans, and these difficult times, the money you're charging them, at least a few quid, you could basically. Because see, if you do, see the guys like Liam King,
give me a figure.
Come through.
I'm going to be rude to you in a minute, but just give me a figure.
Liam King became like a Patterson, right? 15 million. That's a 15 million straight away. If they want to win the match, they'd get 2 million for winning the match. You're not going to win a match if you're not going to, do you know what I mean? They're not going to win a match if they're not going to speculate to accumulate. I'm not saying go into the multi-millions. I'm just saying buy players that's a selling value even. We had that last year. We don't have it now. Kent, you don't get the money for Kent and Morelos.
No,
but you could have.
Because of the contract situation, yeah. Maybe the biggest asset we've got at the club now might be Leon King, Port Bear.
That's a fair comment, mate. Leon King, probably Lowry after him. And after that, now you're starting to like what Magpie's saying. You've got guys doing their contracts almost to the only way you're going to get money from.
It's the first time I've seen 2 goalies with grey hair.
Aye, I know, definitely, mate. Magpie, I just think, mate. See, I know I understand to a certain point to what you're saying, but for us to compete, like I said earlier on, if you heard me, when I mentioned Ajax are, in our terms, one of the lower teams in Champions League level, and look at the quality of their squad, mate. Much do you think we need to spend? Look at the money they spent. So look how much.
They also sold quite a lot of the players as well.
Aye, but they still made a profit. They made a profit of 100 million this year. We're still selling and retaining some of their players. But what I'm getting at is that's the level you need to be at to even try and get into the Europa. Not even get out of the group stages. To try and get into the third place to get into Europa. Ajax are a level we've got to compete with to get into the
I'm not sorry, I'm not going to talk about that. Listen, we would have still been getting into that tournament with that same midfield.
Yep.
So nobody's going to tell me that that's ambitious. That's not ambitious, mate. Come on. We can dress up what we want. There's no ambition being shown. Do you know what I mean? The truth of the matter is, you've had the nail. What I said to you there,
how much did you spend?
We don't go to the Champions League and charge the fans that amount of money. They shouldn't have charged that amount of money and 4 strips a season. They're actually
mate. Forces you to buy the strips, mate. Come on.
I think I like you, right? You know I get on well, but I think sometimes you're apologising for this. But do you think it's right the money they charge those fans at difficult times to watch that?
I think it was about a 10 or 2 deal. That's my personal opinion.
And basically £50,000 you spent in a midfield and you're going into the Champions League.
But they never spent that in the team, mate. Obviously, you've got to look.
The midfield's the most important part of it, and you've seen that. We've seen that right through.
Magpie.
You're a midfielder, Max.
Magpie, look at the big picture. John, wait a minute. I'm not going to talk about the board after this. We're going to talk about the game. Find out about financial fair play. Find out where we sit in UEFA. Find out what we've got to do with our accounts. And then see if you want the board to spend any more money, because you'll not be in Europe. Port Bear.
No, but what you got to remember with financial fair play, you can't spend beyond what your club's earning. So therefore, if you're turnover,
like your PSG.
Yeah,
it's your percentage of your turnover.
Your turnover,
to your sign staff. Yeah, if it gets too high, you've got problems coming. We're on the watch list, and we've got to sort it out. Right? Yeah.
Yep. Bye on.
Man City have skirted it, and so have PSG.
Because they've got big money to make FIFA and UEFA go away, mate. So that's the reason
they've got better lawyers than we've got. That's why we keep losing fucking cases. We keep losing cases.
The last I heard, there was 80 million revenue come in, basically. So that's the most we've ever earned. So what you're basically saying is that teams like Rangers and Celtic spent a lot more money than us.
Yes, they also had some cash in the bank because they've had 5 years. They've not won a Champions League home game.
I know that, mate. Listen, I do know that. Right, but what I'm trying to say is...
joined by Bob J. Evening, Bob J.
Evening, everybody. Hang on here to this bloody damn telly. Oh, right. Well, there you go.
Doing, Bob.
Well, I'm doing all right. I'm not too downhearted, actually. I thought, all right, it was a bit half-puff in the second half, but I thought they were a lot better in the second half. You've got to consider the team we had on the park, eh? And I'm glad the campaign's are. We can get back to the domestic stuff. That's basically, I think we all feel the same, eh?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, look, obviously we always like to progress in Europe because you never know what it takes us, Bob J.
Well, you do, right? Plus the financial side of it as well. But I think in our heart of hearts, when we all seen that group, I think we all knew deep down inside we weren't going to get out it. There was going to be a fight with Ajax for third place, and that never materialised. So, well, there we go. But I was too downhearted. I thought they played not too bad in the second half. If Morelos had scored, we might have sneaked a draw out. You never know. But all in all, we never deserved it. They were a different level for us again.
There was some positives, mate, and the two centre halves being so young and being so mobile, trying to learn their craft. I don't know if the two of them will end up centre halves because they're reasonably good on the ball, but they're both quick, they're both solid.
I didn't understand why McCoy and Kerry Miller were having a go at young King. I just didn't understand that at all. He's going to be a great player for us if he sticks around that laddie because a lot of clubs looking at him. But he's going to be a great player for us.
He's a Scotland first pick. If he keeps going the way he's going.
Aye. Well, where his international career takes him, I don't know. But I don't know why McCoy and Miller were having a go at the laddie. The first two goals weren't his fault. They were not his fault. They blamed him for the two of them.
Pretty unfair, Bob J, weren't they?
What's that?
They were pretty unfair. Totally
unfair. We are young, as you say, centre and half pair and forced on us. And I thought the two of them did pretty well. And I think James Sands is going to develop into a really good player as well. He's comfort on the ball, he can pass the ball, and he's versatile. So,
Bob J is trying to bring it into midfield.
Yep.
What's that, Oxy?
What I like about him is James Sands when he brings the ball forward when there's grass in front of him.
Aye. He's strong and he's quick at bringing the ball forward. I noticed that on 2 or 3 occasions, right? Half of Sands had quite a good game, right, as did the young King. So, again, what I say is what they two were on about. Also, we watched a different game from me. Then again, Kenny Miller would watch a different game from me. That's up to him. But, no, all in all, I'm not too downhearted with it. I'm downhearted with the overall thing. I didn't like to see 5 defeats, but we weren't ready for that, for a group of that quality. No chance were we ready for that. And I'm glad it's Derby, and I just want on with the domestic stuff.
The target was to get there, and if we got anything, it was a bonus. We were maybe competing for third place.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was, a financial bonus.
Of course, you know, the way we started the season, you know, to get through the qualifiers, you know, beat PSV, which was a mega tie. You know, Rangers do things the hard way all the time, and we still got there. We got to where, you know, the biggest tournament in Europe, the biggest tournament in world football, in my opinion. And to me, it's just another step in the ladder. We found our foot over a 4-year period in the Europa League, where we became a very competitive team. Nobody liked to play us, and that's us. You know, at the big table now. Now we need to learn how to be competitive, shop in the right markets, scout in the right areas that need to be scouted in. I mean, Ross Wilson or whoever may be, it takes it forward with a new manager and a new director of football. Will need to really get their scouts out there and do their jobs and do it very, very well, may I add. Because that's, for me, recruitment this year. You know, we spoke about this last year. Recruitment's not really helped this squad, in my opinion, because this squad needed help. And what I mean by help, I didn't mean patch-ups and, you know, band-aids. I mean, it needed help of better quality in certain areas. Midfield, what we've touched on, with legs, that right side sorted out, and probably another centre-back. But it never happened. They replaced players in other areas. And injuries next year, we cannot overlook this. We've got 13 first-team top players out, mate. You know, real quality players out throughout this tournament. And I'm not using this as an excuse, John Magpie, by the way. I'm not trying to
people. Listen, I don't know why you're saying it to me. I've been the one who's been talking about injuries. I've been the one who's been talking about injuries all the time and saying with injuries and other people saying injuries don't matter when I did say the injuries did. Yeah. What I was saying is basically we still should have a better midfield to go into the Champions League than that. Right. There's no legs in that midfield. None. No legs.
What the hell, Magpie, if we'd have spent £15 million on 2 midfielders?
Why have we got a youth team? Why have we got a youth team? Why have we not got young players who've got runners, who've got legs?
To get Leon King, to get one
how have we not got guys with legs that can run in the midfield? That's what I'm trying to say. Why don't we have young players?
I think the midfield, if they had their way, and if Kamara, I don't know what's happened to him. Obviously, they said he was injured. You've got Lundstrom, Kamara, Jack, who's always injured as well, isn't he? And then you brought in.
None of them get pace either.
What's that?
There's no pace.
No,
they always say you need 2 players. Gerrard always said that you need 2 players, quality players, for every position. Right, so you're going to have your first team picks, and then you're going to have your backups. And your backups might overtake your first team picks at some point, or they might just step in. Nathan Patterson stepped in when Tavernier was injured for a short period of time. Nathan Patterson then went on to a Scotland cap and showed what he was capable of, working with a bunch of guys he'd never played with before. So you occasionally get that. But if you don't blood the youth, how are you expecting them to get anywhere? 3 things I just want to point out, right? And we're not talking about the board or any of that type of stuff, but it has to go back to that. There's money on the table. The money has already been allocated, as far as I'm aware. The money's been allocated. There's stadium stuff, and there's stuff that will bring revenue into Ibrox, which will keep the money turning. They can't just pump it constantly into the squad and leave everything else to a rack and ruin. They've got to kind of use that money to try and keep the revenue stream going. The revenue stream pumps into the squad. Right, fine, happy with that. There's still money left there. It comes to the transfer window and we're all sitting waiting going, right, okay, we're seeing players getting shifted out. You know, Hollander's not getting shifted out, but we're seeing guys like Balogun getting shifted out. Fair do, he's had his injuries, but man, the boy's an absolute tank on the field. He's quick, he's fast in the tackle, he'll score you a header now and again, which is one thing we lack is set pieces. Why are we letting him go? Even if we need to reduce his contract, whatever, right, why are we letting him go? Nico Katic, guy puts his head among the boots. He'll do a shift if we need him. We get rid of all these players, Connor Goldson's now injured, and Leon King is the only recognised centre-back in that team. Now, they two boys done themselves justice tonight. Tav's injured, but Tav's still done his usual. He was trying to do what he does as best his ability. As far as I know, Barisic is the injured, and Barisic's done what he always does. So Barisic is a weak point for every single team to look at. Put that boy in his rank fit, or put it in a tap here. And they've done it all night long. And every single team that we've played the Champions League, and even when we're playing domestically, everybody's like, weak link, Barisic. And even when it came to an actual left footer's free kick tonight, Tav took it. If that was a left footer's free kick, it could have been near post, middle, or far post.
I thought it was too far out for the two of them, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Well, I mean, the fact is, Tav got it up near the wall, but it was about 3 miles an hour. It just screamed to me, give Barisic a chance. The boy needs a wee bit of confidence, like, give him a shot. He's getting in the papers, he's getting it here, he's getting it there. He's in the squad for Croatia, for Christ's sakes. But the two boys that really shone for me tonight, I think Matondo's got a player in him. But I've got to say, and I know this is probably, I don't know about hatred, but it's probably going to get a lot of dissent, and I'll get a yellow card for it. but I honestly think one of the problems is Gio. Gio came from the Dutch league where everybody gets to look up and pick a pass, and that's domestic. And then he moves, say he gets into Europe and when he's with a Dutch team, it's the same thing. Get to look up, pick a pass. You get to play football. You don't get that in the Scottish League. So the point is, he's got to have to adapt to go to play Alloa on a wet Wednesday night in December, and then he'll go to play Aberdeen at Pittodrie, and then he's back for another cup game. I don't think he's managing the players particularly well. He might be training them well.
If you take out the Old Firm games, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is the best record domestically. Rangers manager.
Really?
Aye, bizarrely.
Yep. Percentage wins, yep.
I'll trust you for the stats there, Oxman. But to be honest,
I might be making that up, mate. I might be making that up. You never know.
You might just be making that up. I don't know, right? But the thing is, I'm like Gerrard. I was feeling. He was saying all the right things in press conferences. He was defending his players. He was defending the club. Even though I knew Michael Beale was technically the brains behind the whole thing, he was the tactical genius behind the whole thing. But even then, when we had Michael Beale, Stevie Gerrard and Gary McAllister and all the rest of it, it was the same thing. Let's play the crab ball, left to right to left, to left to right to right to left, and we'll try and get an opening and everybody's part in the bus. It's too slow. You noticed it tonight. Ryan Kent was like running up to people, and then they were going to fake the ball, and he was turning his back rather than get into a tackle. I literally, if Ryan Kent went into a tackle tonight, I must have missed it, because he got close to people, but he refused to put the foot in. And then you've got like,
that's never really been his game, is it? Let's be honest, John.
No, but if he's going to be in that position where he's close to a player. And it's a defensive player. He should be doing something. I mean, it's technically, I would have been doing something. Everybody I know would have been doing something. If you're that up the field and you've got a chance to nick a ball, you do it. Fredo nicked it and then absolutely fucked it at the end. But
watch the language, John. Watch the language.
Sorry, apologies. There might be younger people.
You'll not get a yellow card. You'll get a red one.
I apologise. But Fredo managed to do that.
It's Magpie. Magpie's a big Christian and he gets upset with that kind of language.
Fredo managed to nick a ball. He managed to do the hard bit and then fluff the bit that he should have, that he's supposedly a natural at. He's off. Cholak's not getting the service. Ryan Kent's off his game. Matondo's way too young. Scott Wright doesn't get a run of games. Sakala isn't sure his position, so he tries to impress. He always tries to overwork. It's like the team just can't settle. He just can't seem to get a bunch of guys to say, right, look, this is how we're going to play, and this is who's going to play. I understand that there's injuries. We literally, Sherman said, we're a full team out. But with the size of the squad that we've got, including the youngsters, there's no excuse for that. There's guys on the bench tonight that would have went 60 minutes, Alex Lowry, you're coming on. Adam Devine, you're coming on. Why? Why not? We're losing anyway. We know we're getting absolutely papped out of the competition. Why not give these boys just a run? Give them a half an hour.
I would have brought Lowry and Kent on. I'd have brought Lowry even on for Arfield and let him do what he liked. And the boy Devine, when Tav was doing injured, all right, we were huffing and puffing, and it was 2-0 at the time. There was an opportunity then. What do you think, Port?
I think we really need to start having a wee closer look at Devine in regards to Tav's injury next year. Is it going to get to the stage where we keep playing Tav to the same thing happens with Morelos when he's out maybe 5, 6, 7 months, when whatever's wrong with him eventually goes? You know what I mean? So I think we do need to look at Devine and a bit closer, and that would have been ideal, mate. Just take off Tav with the eye on the game at the weekend, which for all is new. It's probably the most important game. So get Devine on, give the boy another boy a debut in the Champions League. Again, something that a lot of players, be an example, Nathan Patterson, never played a Champions League game either, I believe. So, and look at the money we got for him. And in my opinion, again, King's ahead of him.
Wait a minute. What's your name?
Sorry,
John Gary. Evening, Gary.
Evening, boys. Thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say thanks for obviously taking my call, and a bit devastating about the result, by the way. But see what we've got to remember is the group that we got put into was basically the group of death. I mean, the teams that we had to face was unbelievable. I'm not going to sit there and defend that we never got a win or at least a draw. But then the whole thing with that, it was our first time in the Champions League for donkeys. And I mean, all right, the performances weren't great, but then the whole thing with that, we can only do better next year. And I know that there's still a lot of disappointment in the fact that we couldn't get a result tonight. But
cheers, Gary.
I think Napoli will win it.
Oh, I don't, mate, but that's another story. But we'll be joined by Jim 115. How are we doing, Jim?
Not bad. Pretty interesting discussions tonight. Listening to the guys here, just back for the game there. But peeved off again.
What did you think?
I thought the goals that we lost tonight again were criminal. I heard one of the boys saying there that they thought the boy King had a great game. I'll tell you something, I love to know what game he was watching in the first half, because any of the Champions League games, you'll never see a worse goal than what Rangers conceded that first goal tonight. The boy King actually ushered the ball into the back of the net. So he did. Put his hands out, by the way, and ushered the ball into the back of the net. Turns his back on it. Absolutely embarrassing. His formation again, and some of the players that he's got on there, Stephen Davis, Scott Arfield. What did Scott Arfield bring to the party on that park tonight? Apart from when he ran off it. Absolutely shocking. And then he takes Tillman off, which I don't disagree with it, and puts right centre mid in the centre of the park. Wright's never played in there, and he's natural.
I didn't understand that one myself, mate. I mean, if I was going to everybody, and Alfie, I thought he was going to take Sakala off when you seen Wright coming on. I couldn't believe it.
Unbelievable. Where he played him when he came up, when they brought him on that park.
Have you seen Jim? Have you seen the first goal on the telly?
No, but I read about it. When I was sitting in the game, I was actually reading follow.
The boy
comments said that it actually gets worse and worse and worse.
It seemed to spin. I don't know what happened. I don't even know if he meant to put it where he put it. I don't know what you thought, Port.
No, they said that they touched on it during half time, mate. They actually said that they reckon Berghuis squaffed, to use a better word, squaffed the shot, and which caused King to sort of turn his barrel. I don't know what Jim's getting at. I did say, Jim, that I felt King should have been a step and a half, maybe 2 steps further forward to block him down. But he didn't, mate, and on 2 occasions, Sands done the same for the other goal. He stood after the player and allowed him to basically use him as a shield to bend it past McGregor. But I don't want to be too harsh to the boys, Jim. But King's 18 and he's playing the Champions League. Sands playing the positions that's not his, and that was the only two centre halves we had to pick for the night, mate. And I think they done the best to their ability they could of the night, mate. Especially when you watch your team who are playing. Jim, you must admit that team were cutting us apart at will, and were an absolute joy to watch.
And they were a joy to watch because you're stoning after them, you're not getting in their faces.
Aye,
Stephen Davis
would
have been better sitting up with me in the Copeland Road. He couldn't get near the boy all night.
He was desperate to get rid of the ball as well. That's the other thing I've noticed about Davis all season. He's desperate to get shot of the ball.
Well, see Leon King.
Can't run with it, boys. He can't run with the ball anymore. All Stephen Davis can do now is sit in the middle of that part and be like a quarterback, just passing the ball left or right or trying, ping a diagonal into Kent or into Sakala. This is why he tries to move the ball quick. He's using the ball guy. He's an older head in the pitch now. He's not got the legs to carry the ball 30 and 40 yards, and that's the biggest problem. But we touched on this show, for a few weeks. We've no ball carriers in the middle of the park. We've nobody to carry the ball 30 to 40 yards. Get the pressure off his.
We've no legs in there. We haven't.
But that was the difference with Davis of old. Is he would take a touch, pick a pass. He's no looking up. He's thinking where somebody's going to be, and that's where this team is now. It's not a case of you were watching Ajax tonight. Everybody knew where everybody was going to be. They were hitting passes without looking, and immediately they were straight in, either to feet or into space. Rangers couldn't hit a pass 10 yards and hit it on target. And Stevie Davis has lost that all season. It's to my opinion. The two boys at centre back, I've got to say, I'm not saying they had the best game as centre halves defending the ball, but they were positive when they were coming out. They were trying to make the play happen. They were trying to stride out into midfield. They weren't fear of taking the ball. They had no fear. They made mistakes. I get that, but if you're looking at that team and saying, is there any player in that that's got a big Rangers future? I would have said Sands and King are looking like players that can step up and take responsibility.
Remember, Jim, you've got love bites older than Leon King.
No.
Can I come in for a second, Doc?
I'll come back to you, Mike, but just get Gary's last word. But when you go, Gary,
mind you, see Leon King. All right, the night he had a shocker of a game the night, but I can't criticise him for. I think that this season he's had a great campaign. In the league anyway, for when he's played, I thought Sakala for pace was excellent the night. I thought Tavernier was all right. I thought he had an all right game. But one thing I agree with, I think Davis shouldn't have been playing tonight. I wouldn't have played Davis.
I don't know who else we would have played. I think that's the problem, and I think that's the point that Magpie.
What I was trying to say, Ox, was basically say Jim's at the game. The only player we could, I think that's lovely because Jim's got an honest opinion, and I agree with him. But the only thing you think about this, what my point is, Ox, and it's been from the start of this conversation, is the only player you could bring in that's going to have any goal threat from midfield is Lawrence. It wouldn't matter who else you brought in. We don't have players. And we have went into here all prepared. Don't care what anybody says for the Champions League. We're not totally all prepared. And see, this thing that we don't spend money. Oxford Glen have to spend money, or else we'll be singing a new song in 2 years. We won't be singing the most successful team in football because they're two league titles behind us. That's all they are. Do you think the Rangers fans?
But look at Morelos. He came, even Morelos. He came on for a wee while, and he looked more promising in the time that he came on than half the folk in the park.
Yep. And hang on a second, mate. See the pinnacle of your career as a footballer is to play in the Champions League. That's what they all want to do. They had the chance to play in the Champions League. They never put a tackle in. They stood off. They never once put a challenge in, a physical challenge.
Right, gentlemen, I need to cut him across you because Port Bear is getting past his bedtime. Last word for your good self, Bob Gia.
What was the question again, Ox?
Good night, Bob Gia.
Oh, good night. Right.
It's a statement.
Just 1 second. I never said that Leon King and James Sands had a great game. I said they've got a lot of potential. That's what I said.
Aye, that's
So
what
on
he
that
showed.
note,
They
so
showed
on that
a
night, on that note, night, lads. Thank you again.
Get your teeth in.
Night, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Night, mate.
Good night, gentlemen. Good to speak
It's
to you.
here, it's like the Walton Zone here. Jim Bob and Big Bob, man. Good night.
See
That
you
must
later,
make me John Boy.
See you later, Port Bear.
Aye, mate. Like I says, harsh lesson. No, but the board, the players, the team, us as fans, know the levels we have to reach to remain in this tournament. But for me, mate, we turn now full focus on domestic football. 3 games before the World Cup. It's a must. 9 points for me, and this team has to start picking up and playing to potential that we know next year they can play. We've got players to come back that will definitely enhance the squad. When January comes round, we need to try and purchase wisely. But harsh lesson, mate.
Listen, thanks to everybody that called. That was all about opinions. Good to speak to everyone. I'm sure we'll be debating tomorrow night. You're all welcome to join us when we got more time. Thanks to all the callers. Thanks to Port Bear. Thanks to Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night talking about all things Rangers. Take it away, Old School Blue.